episode is a roof rack. I'm going to build a 1-inch tube roof rack for my Suzuki Samurai. And I've already decided on the dimensions. It's going to be 3 foot 5 inches wide and 5 foot 5 inches long and about 4 inches tall. And so I bought this, this is 16 gauge expanded mesh, and I got this 1-inch welded seam tubing. It's 16th wall, or .062, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm going to build this rack out of. I put this 2x4 along the top here just to see how tall I might want it and what kind of spacing I got on each side. It's just for my own figuring. So anyhow, stick around and let's build this roof rack. Okay, so I've done some pre-measuring. I got my cheater here that I built. If you want to learn more about tubing bending, go over to the fabrication series there, and I'll put a link up there and you can watch his videos. He discusses bending and measuring how to bend this tubing way more in depth than I know. That's where I get my information. That's where I learned to bend tubing. To get my 3 foot 5 inches outside diameter or outside dimensions on this rack, I know I need to have 16 1/4 from center to where this bend starts. 16 1/4 on both sides to get the bend to get this tubing at 3 foot 5. So let's have a go at it here. So we'll take some of this tubing. We want to find the center of it. Exactly 10 feet. So half of 10 feet is 5. So we'll go with 5 feet. And I've got wrote down here 16 1/4. So we go from 16 1/4 on each side. And we want to make sure that our bend is on this side. So let's load this stuff into the bender here. Okay, so we want to do 90-degree bend. So we put pre-tension on our tubing. Set our needle at 0. Just making sure everything is level. Make sure everything is level all the time. If you watch Justin over at the fabrication series, he goes through this, tells you to make sure to level everything out. Otherwise, when you bend this U-shaped thing, you're going to end up with bars like this. If it's not, instead of parallel, they're going to be tweaked out a little bit if everything is not perfect. So you definitely want to pay attention to that. Mock-up jig I got going on here, make sure it's right where I want it. can see, this tubing lays right flat. There's no warp in this. You know, and this is Baltic birch plywood is flat. You know, so make sure you get your everything leveled out before you start your bends, or you know, one of these. That one might sit level on the plywood, and this one could be up or down or whatever. It's really critical that you level everything. Can't say that enough. This tubing is light enough wall, you can probably twist it back into shape that it, you know, if it's out a little bit. But if this was DOM or heavier wall stuff, you might not be able to twist it back level. So anyhow, going with that, we know we want to go 5.5 feet long. We have more than enough. We have 3'6". These were 10-foot sections of tubing. So I'll eventually be cutting them off somewhere here to get my 5'5" dimension. So we'll measure, make sure this tubing is exactly 10 feet, which it is, 10 feet. This roof rack, I don't want it straight up and down. I like the looks of them that are, you know, they follow the body angles, you know, the roof. I'm going to follow the slant of the windshield for the very front of it. The back, I'm going to follow this, if I can, this angle of the back here, and same with the sides. I want to make, you know, the sides of my roof rack go at an angle instead of straight up and down. So for that, it's kind of difficult. All I'm going to do is hold this. Look at this gap. It's about even. I want to go up about 4 inches, so to there. It looks like about an inch. So if I make the top ring 2 inches narrower, I should be good there. So instead of it being 3'5", it'll be 3'3". The top ring is going to be 4 inches this way, so instead of 5'5", it's going to be 5'1". So 5'1", 3'3" is what I want for my top ring. So let's go build that. Okay, so nothing fancy here. We're just gonna throw it on the floor. Offside like this until we get our until we get the measurements we want. So since I don't have big sheet of plywood, I'm just going to put a mark on the floor, and at 5'5". That's just how we're going to do it. And at 5'5", slide this in. Measure our inside. just measure whichever one we want to cut off. It doesn't really matter at this point. Cut this one off. And if you want to offset them, you know, cut this one short and then cut this one short. That's fine. It might give it a little strength, so let's do it that way. So now we'll just pop them in the saw. Put the bands on, we'll just cut them off. Okay, so what I did is instead of doing this on the floor, I set it up on some stands. And I cut this cross piece that's going to go on center. Just like that. Pull it together. Weld it there. Check, make sure everything is square and level, flat. And we'll put the other two stringers in and weld these seams here. Once my furnace quits blowing air, it's blowing my gas away. And that'll be at the bottom. Then we can fit in the mesh on there, weld all that up. Probably use a MIG welder for that, it'll be way quicker. Zap, zap, zap. I might even make this. I'm pretty rusty on the TIG. Like, it's been a lot of years since I've TIG welded. So, you know, I just did a little bit of practicing yesterday and the day before. Did a bunch of little short welds, but I'm really pretty rusty, so more than likely I might just make weld this whole thing. Okay, so now you can probably get the picture of what I'm doing here. So we're just gonna get this where it needs to sit. Need to have a 3-inch back slope here. these down a little shorter to match the others so we get the same 4-inch height. So to get our measurement, we just put our square on here. We want this to drop down 3 inches. So we'll put a thing in here. Roughly. And then we do the same to the other side. Okay, so I cut these little uprights that go in here. They're like 2 3/4 inches long, and then, you know, they're just fish mouthed to fit in here. And I just got them tacked on. I got made sure everything is 4 inches from the plywood to the top of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and tack them in place. And then I got to do the front ones. And then we can put the mesh in there. The mesh will have to get tacked down on every single piece that touches this pipe or it's going to rattle. And then we're ready to set her up on the roof and build ourselves some legs and attachment mounts for the top of the Zook. So let me zap these on here. Alright, so now we'll just measure this up here for our standard mesh. Okay, so I had to take this bar off so I could kind of fold this mesh and tuck it in here. And then I forgot to turn the cameras back on. So I've got the mesh tacked in a few places, and it has to be tacked in every spot or it's going to rattle. And then, yeah, so then I just welded this back on, you can see, or it's just tacked back on. So now I'm basically at welding, putting a ton of weld on this thing, so it's going to be a little bit. Have fun watching. I got her all welded up, and I had a little problem when I welded this bar in here that I wanted to pull this up at a, once the weld shrinks, it wanted to pull this up like a banana. So I had to cut this off, put a pre-bend down into it, weld a new bar into it, and then got her sucked up, and it seems to be fairly straight now. There's a little bit of a wave in it, but it's pretty good. So now all I'm going to do is try and position this roof rack where I want it. I got about, looks like I got about a 1/2 inch clearance under here, under this bar to the top of the pin top. I'm hoping that's enough. So I'm just going to take some measurements in some certain places here and go from there. So what I did for mounts, or mounting plates for this, is I found a bunch of 1/8 inch plate. Well, I found one big sheet of 1/8 inch plate, and I cut it into 3 by 6 inch pieces, formed it into a U-shaped or C-shaped, whatever you want to call it, and that's what's going to get mounted right up here. It conforms to the body. I don't know if you can see it very good there, or maybe here you can see a little bit better. Right about there, conforms to the body shape. And then I'm just going to run a piece of this 1 inch tube down to this plate, weld it onto this plate. And I'll drill some holes in here, probably 4 holes, and that's how it's going to get mounted. There will be 4 of them down the sides and then 1 down by the cowl there. So I'm going to make a bunch of these here. No point in showing video of it really. It's just put it in a vise and bend it multiple times and keep fitting it and fitting it and fitting it until it fits the way you like it. Drill some holes, set it up, and then I'll show how I set it up and weld it and whatnot. Let's get after it here. Okay, so I got 4 of these plates made up so far. And they fit pretty close to the body. Now I made some of these little uprights. Show you what they look like here. And they go just like that. So then I'm just going to tack them in place and then stand back and kind of look and make sure stuff looks right. So I got her all tacked up. Apparently I didn't have the video on. It's all tacked up where I want it and everything. Tomorrow I think we're going to make this bar that goes down, attaches to the corner of the cowl, and then that way off this bar I could make light mounts if I want. I can, just weld on another mount for an LED light down here or up here or wherever I want. Just add some more options for lights, I guess. So we'll stick around and I'll see you tomorrow and we'll finish this project up. Okay, so now the point that I'm at here, I've got the mounts made up the other night like you guys seen, like I showed. And then I bent up these brackets here, or plates, that are going to get bolted to the body here. And then I bent this tube, put a 70-degree bend in it here, and just did lots of fitting. Cut a little bit, fit it, cut a little more, fit it some more, cut it, fit it, and take a ton of measurements. And I've got it now to the point where it's ready to tack into position. Just like that right here. So now I'm going to tack this in place, good and proper, and then I will weld it up good and solid here, and then it'll be ready for paint. And then I just have to drill my holes in these plates where I want them, transfer the holes to the body, and then run a bunch of riv nuts in there. And then I need to get some rubber to put underneath these plates for like a gasket, so you're not getting rain and whatnot in there and getting down into them bolt holes and rusting it up. So let's zap this together. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to cover up this windshield. Because any welding spatter that hits this windshield, even though it's fairly quick and and it won't burn your arms, I've found that it pits the windshield up. So I'm just going to cover it up to save this brand new windshield. Okay, so I had the wife help me take the roof rack off the Zook. I'm just going to finish up a couple of welds, drill a couple holes, shoot some paint on it. First I'll wipe it down with acetone, then I'll shoot some paint on it. And then tomorrow I can mount it. Get some rubber for under the feet, and she'll be good to mount. Okay, so a lot of times when you work alone, you gotta come up with ways to do stuff yourself. So here I'm jimmy rigging a way to lift this rack up to get it on top of my Suzuki. Check this out. Alright, now what we're going to do here is we're going to get this in place where we want it. Make sure it's sitting down right where I want it, which is basically about a 1/4 inch away from the front of these hinges. Make sure it's square on here again. Then I'm going to drill a couple of 1/4 inch holes around. I'm going to put my rib nuts in, and then I'll finish these upper holes on all of the rest of the body here. Okay, so I've drilled all the holes around the top side. I haven't put the rib nuts in yet. I'm going to drill 2 more here. I want to put 4 bolts on these brackets, these cowl brackets, and then we'll take the roof rack off, install the rib nuts, put in a rubber gasket in here. I'll show you that, and then we'll reinstall. just a little bit bigger, so they don't have to be exact to fit on Suzuki. Those plates that I made for the feet of the roof rack that sits on the body, they're 3 inches by 6 inches. So I just made a template a little bit bigger, 3 1/8 by 6 1/8, and I'm just going to cut rubber out from a tire tube, tractor tire tube. They should work like a gasket for the feet to sit on. We make 6 of them. And I just went down to my local tire shop, asked them if they had any tire tube, wanted tractor tire tube, so it was hopefully a little thicker. And the outside of the tube, where it rides on the outside of the tire, seems to be thinner from wear, so I'm doing the inside, the hub side of the rubber. So here my plan is to spray glue this and install the rubber gasket just like that, and then I'll trim it to fit, and then it'll stay there until I drop it down on the body. Should work good. Let's get some spray glue. So now we're just going to clean these up. Give them a quick wipe with acetone. So right about now, I bet you're wondering, you just glued that rubber over these holes, and how are you going to cut them holes? Well, here's an old trick. What you do is get yourself a piece of tubing, whatever. In my case, it happens to be brass tubing, 1/4 inch diameter, which is the size hole I drilled. And then you just get one of these deburr tools, deburr it so you make it sharp, so the edge is real sharp, just like this. Make it down so it's good and sharp. And then all you do is you hold a block behind it, chuck it in your drill, and just cut it out. There you can see there's a hole. And it just makes perfect little holes. So I'm just installing these right now with just some regular zinc coated 1/4 by 20 bolts with a lock washer and a washer, but I'll be replacing it with stainless steel, because these are going to rust and look like crap. there you have the roof rack. Seems nice and solid and everything. Cost me about probably a little less than 250 bucks to build, and turned out really good. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching Suzuki Evolution, and subscribe if you're interested in these videos and they're something you like to watch, and they're helpful. Like and share, put some comments below, and we'll see you guys next time.